Recently, there has been a lot of news as well as activity on Twitter about the confrontation going on between the IPS officers and the cadre officers of CRPF, BSF, ITBP, CASF, and SSB. That is, the CAPFs or the paramilitary forces. The root of this tussle is regarding implementation of something called as an Organized Service Status or OGAS for short, which is part of the real question as to who will lead the forces. So why are the cadre officers dissatisfied? Let me explain. First is the question of leadership. Currently, while the cadre officers form the majority of the officers, the IPS have monopolized the top echelons of the force. In the army and the state police, the head of the force gradually rises through the system, whereas paramilitary are the only forces where the head of the force can directly be appointed via deputation, which is an unprecedented system. Now, we have an organizational structure in which cadre officers occupy the lower and mid-level officer cadre, while the higher officers are exclusively occupied by the IPS officers. These offices are often the cushy postings located in large metros, while the bulk of cadres are posted in the field areas of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast. As you can see in the graphic, as the number of peace posting increases, the deputation of the IPS also keeps increasing. They have no idea about the workings of these forces, often coming from states like UP or Karnataka, to lead these forces in the worst affected areas of Kashmir and Chhattisgarh. A glaring example of the lack of suitability is the absolute disregard of the ethos of the force, as often seen when IPS officers are giving homage to martyrs in shabby casual dress. This is something which is considered the biggest shame in armed forces culture. More often than not, they are inconsiderate of the welfare of the personnel, as even trivial welfare benefits have to be secured by filing cases in the courts. Second is the crippling stagnation in various forces such as CRPF, BSF, and others. An assistant commandant is stagnating for 10 years, while their counterparts in army and police have already attained the rank of lieutenant colonel, SSP, and second in command. The third is the reduced level of pay, which is a cause of attrition and rising resignation from the force. For example, an officer who joined Central Labour Service in 2005 has a higher pay than a cadre officer over the following years. Finally, in 2012, to reverse years of injustice, the cadre officers of these paramilitary forces approached the High Court in the G.G. Singh and others versus Union of India case. It must be remembered that in the High Court and subsequently in the Supreme Court, MHA and the IPS Association was a party against the case. Finally, on 8 February 2019, the Supreme Court granted all the paramilitary forces the status of organized service and its consequential benefits. The organized Group A services would have provided the following benefits, which would have solved certain systemic issues of the CAPF officers. That is, no deputation of IPS up to IG rank, selective deputation only if eligible cadre officers are not available, granting of non-functional financial upgrade, which would give a short pay rise at par with other central services, allowing of CAPF officers in central staffing scheme, which allows the government to utilize this talent pool in various central ministries, streamlined cadre management for better promotional avenues. So by now, everything should be fine and the grievances of the men who protect us every day must have been resolved? The answer is a big no. The catch lies in the actual implementation of the Cabinet's and Supreme Court's order. To actually implement their order, the bureaucracy must have done the following: granting of NFFU to cadre officers, fresh cadre review, promotion of all eligible DIGs to IG posts being held by the IPS, amending the recruitment rules which are the legal basis for appointment. Let's see how it fares in. The first was the NFFU, which gives significant pay rise to the frontline warriors. As you can see, as compared to the other services, there have been significant roadblocks in the grant of pay. These roadblocks are residency periods, promotional courses, medical policy, flawed definition of eligibility, and flawed definition of batches. Second is the ordering of fresh cadre review of the CAPFs to align them to the requirements of an organized service, as the current organizational structure is highly skewed as per norms of an organized service. This has been categorically denied by the IPS leadership, as evident from an affidavit filed by S.S. Deswal, then acting head of CRPF and the current head of ITBP. Third is the promotion of all eligible DIGs to IG posts being held by the IPS, on which no action has been taken up by the IPS leadership. In fact, the CAPFs are the only organized service for which this is followed. The fourth is amending the existing recruitment rules which provide the legal basis for all recruitments. This has been again denied categorically by the IPS leadership. With the current rules, benefits conferred by the court and the cabinet become null and void. This is exactly what has happened because under pressure from the IPS lobby, the MHA has written to the DOPT that benefits will be given under the current rules of the CAPF. So despite the various proclamation of the government as well as announcements as achievement in publicity posters, the hurdle is clearly the IPS lobby who are systematically denying our warriors their rights. The major reason for this is a very clear case of conflict of interest in the implementation of the organized service status. The very same IPS officers who were a party against the grant of NFFU and OGAS in the GJ Singh case head these organizations and dominate the Ministry of Home Affairs through lobbying. They have the sole responsibility of implementing this judgment, thus making it a case of conflict of interest. We must ponder upon this as a nation. Whenever we ask something from our soldiers, whether it is to face a hail of bullets, face the scorching heat of the deserts, the freezing colds of the winter, or the unforgiving conditions in the jungles, they neither raise a question, nor do they ask why, nor have they given any excuse in fulfilling their duties. However, why is it that every time they ask for some benefits, the response is half-hearted and subject to a plethora of questions, or in this case become hostage to vested interests?